lot of times I tell people when they are beginning to tackle a project, just do a little bit at a time. You know,
Mm,
things didn't happen overnight. So don't try to think you're going to do this in a few hours or even a weekend. Just do a little bit. Maybe even just start by just putting things back, and that helps you really find things the first time you look. But it does, it just kind of overwhelms you. And it's like, okay, what's over there in that? What have I not done? But by just kind of really creating, I call it a haven. I always tell people when they are thinking of organizing, what are those stress points?
This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness.
Janet, welcome. What's good?
I am so excited to be here, Joshua. I can't wait to talk about health and organizing, the combination of the two.
Definitely. They go hand in hand. You might not expect it, but they do. They do have a lot in common. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today, the importance of maintaining a clean and organized space for your health. So
Yes, yeah.
before we get into that, though, I'd love to learn more a little bit about you. I mean, we spoke previously, so I do know a little bit more about the audience. I'd love for them to get to know you a little bit.
So I am what they call a professional organizer, but I'd like to really call myself a life organizer because to me, I help people organize more than their spaces and their time, but actually look at how they can literally, balance and have a more healthier and simplified life as well. So I've been doing that for over 30 years, but I'm also a do speaking as well as a podcaster like you are. I'm a fellow podcaster.
Yes. And your podcast is called Got Clutter, Get Organized.
Yes, it is.
Very cool. You go over all types of different organizational topics, and it's a very cool show. I got a chance to check it out earlier this week.
Oh, thank
Highly
you. Thank
recommend
you.
it. Yeah,
Thank you. It's a labor of love, as you know, with podcasts. And when you get your topic, it's just like you really truly love it and passionate about it. So
definitely. What inspired you to focus on organization as an overall tool for wellness, well-being?
So, well, of course, I kind of stumbled on it, Joshua. So I was working for a company and of course went through a layoff and just trying to figure out what was my next because I wanted to be
Mm,
more in control of my finances in my life. So I kept looking back and it was a theme, how organized I was, how neat I was. And so that's when I started really doing some research and found out there was a local chapter of organizers, it's a national chapter of organizers. So that's how I got into it. But then as I got into it a little bit more, because I started with just doing like closets and basements and offices, I realized that when people really look at their life as well as their time and how they manage it, they can really have an organized life. As I was
hmm.
sharing with you, I made time this morning just to walk, and walking is really important to me because it's part of my health and well-being. So I do that. And then, of course, teaching people feel like, oh, I don't have time to do this. But I also love meal planning because that's part of me eating healthy because I know, like so many people, when you are hungry, you're going to just grab the first thing because you're so hungry. But the meal planning lets me grab something that is good for my body. So that's why I really got into it. And just to share people what the benefits are overall when you can find things the first time you look, but also have time to not only be healthy, but also enjoy life in the process. That's what I really love to do.
Very cool. Yeah, I have a love of organization just because the way my mind works. I was diagnosed with ADD as a child and I'm just all over the place. And I find that if my space is not organized, it just makes me go crazy in my head. And I
And
have a
you're
lot
right
of
about
lists.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really critical for me to function, to be organized and at least try to be organized as much as I can.
Hey, this episode is brought to you by Living the Protein Lifestyle. This is the first book in the Protein Lifestyle series, and it's my story of how I was able to lose over 80 pounds, overcome depression, IBS, and food addiction. It provides the simple tips and strategies that really work. It's not just some fad diet, it's a lifestyle. When you apply these tactics to your life, you're gonna look good and you're gonna feel good. And you can incorporate these strategies into your everyday life so that they become just another routine habit. And you'll be able to look and feel your best too. Pick up Living the Protein Lifestyle on Amazon now. It's under $10. You'll support me and support yourself. I'd really appreciate it. Now back to the show.
And you're right. You're right. I mean, that is so important because, like you said, list. One of the things I shared recently was a lot of people do brain dumping at night, but then sometimes, you may need to do it first thing when you wake up because sometimes when you wake up and all those thoughts come through your head, you're like, oh, so sometimes just taking a moment, just pausing and just writing things down, it'll help
Yeah.
you, really kind of get that start. So, yes.
Mhm. I definitely felt like that this morning. Like I needed a brain dump. I woke up and I was just immediately started thinking of all the things I have to do today. I talking to you. I'm going to set up at a gym later this evening to promote my books and just everything else in between. And so I really find it helpful to journal in the morning and get all that stuff out and kind of plan out my day and plan out my meals. Today I'm fasting, doing a 16-hour fast to help clear out my gut and all the other benefits of fasting. Do you ever mess around with fasting?
I have done like the fast, what we would call usually the Daniel fast at the beginning of the year.
Hmm.
I really like that because I've really just got so many benefits from that. Because my goodness, you only think clear, but then you also have a lot more energy.
Yeah.
This weekend I did just like a gentle detox with a tea.
Hmm.
That's important for me as well because, and I always try to just really be careful about what I put in my body. One of the things that I am really done, at least for the past week, is I decided that I no longer want to have anything sugary snacks in my house. So even though I'm not going to say I'm not going to ever eat a slice of cake or dessert again, but I just don't have it
Hmm.
in my house. So
I
I have
love
more
that.
healthier things. So that's something that I can do to at least control my sugar intake.
That's a fantastic goal. Definitely setting that and then also having the flexibility to be okay with having a cake once in a while, like at a special event or something. I love having that flexibility.
And then also I find, Josh, and this is something I got from my mother, is a list in the supermarket. It's amazing how when you're really conscious of what you're buying, and you're not just going up and down the aisle, just picking things because, oh yeah, I need this, I need it really does help. I mean, one, it helps you stay within budget, but also
Oh
it
yeah.
really helps you, and especially when you really start the meal planning. It's like, okay, what do I really need? What is going to be part of this week's meal? And
Hmm.
and my mother was always good at doing, the like the vegetables and things like that. So she was never really in and out the aisle. She was always the perimeter of the supermarket. So,
That is critical for health. Staying on the perimeter where all the whole foods are. I love
hmm
that. It's
hmm
funny. Sometimes I get some funny looks, like when I go to Costco and I'm at the checkout and I only have like three things in my cart and everyone else has 20 or whatever things. And it's like I have my list. I went in there, I just got the things I needed and I'm in and out. And um, yeah, it's so important for budget and for sticking with your meal plan, all of that. We kind
yeah,
of touched
because
on it. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, and it really does help you really focus more on your health when you stick with that list. Because I've done it. I haven't, certain times I haven't had a list, but then something catches my eye, Joshua, and it's like, oh, that looks good. So you're right.
Hmm. Yeah. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but how does our environment impact our physical and mental health?
Well, a lot of physical clutter can really, it really can lead to distraction, overwhelm. Some people have anxiety, panic attacks because you're kind of just like sometimes you're looking at stuff and thinking, okay, what do I need to do? Because it looks a lot of times like unfinished things. And you're feeling like,
Hmm.
well, I don't have time to do what I'm supposed to do. And now I've got to look at this stuff. And so it kind of overwhelms people. And that's why a lot of times I tell people when they are beginning to tackle a project, just do a little bit at a time. You know,
Mm,
things didn't happen overnight. So don't try to think you're going to do this in a few hours or even a weekend. Just do a little bit. Maybe even just start by just putting things back, and that helps you really find things the first time you look. But it does, it just kind of overwhelms you. And it's like, okay, what's over there in that? What have I not done? But by just kind of really creating, I call it a haven. I always tell people when they are thinking of organizing, what are those stress points? Is it when you come in the door and you see the shoes piled up? Well, then maybe just get a shoe rack.
hmm.
Or is it, all of a sudden you feel like your bedroom is just so cluttered? And I tell people a lot of times the bedroom should really be the first place you focus on because that's the place where you rest and you rejuvenate and you relax. And that's the place where you should not be surrounded by clutter. You should feel calm and peace and just allow yourself to re-energize, your body to re-energize itself for the next day. So, and then sometimes it's just is beginning to really look at what we have in our homes, in our lives. Because statistics says that 80% of the stuff we keep, we never reference again. And we wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time. I mean, yes, I have that favorite bag that I just pocketbook I always gravitate to. I'm sure people have those favorite sneakers or coats or this, that, and the other. And the other stuff is just there just in case. So sometimes when we reduce some of the stuff that we have in our homes and our lives, then that can help us not feel this cluttered and overwhelmed, and also just feel like we're living a simple life with what we truly can maintain and manage.
Definitely. Yeah, you touched on a few great topics right there. Sleep is so critical to our health, and just having that space where you sleep organized, that can really go a long way. Making your bed in the morning and just having it, your bedroom look nice. So when you come to bed, it's peaceful and it's ready. I love that.
And it does
Yeah.
something when you wake up in a bedroom that's not disorganized.
Hmm.
When you can look at the dresser and actually see the top of it. Or even when you just roll over and look at your side tables, it's like you're just starting your day completely different. And like you said,
Yeah.
Joshua, it's like making your bed. That's like something you could just cross off your list for the first thing you've done for yourself. And
Hmm.
then when you come home after a long day of doing whatever you had to do and giving to everybody, you can come into that bedroom and see it just look like so peaceful and like a haven, and you can just kind of relax and just really have a good night's sleep. So, yeah, sleep is
Definitely.
important.
Yeah. And you mentioned, putting things away. I've heard, don't put it down, put it away.
Mm-hmm.
And when you
Yeah,
come
because
in
it
the
only
house, yeah, put things away where they go. Put your keys on the hook. Put your, bag where it goes. Don't just drop things.
Yeah, because it only takes a few seconds. I mean, if you really think about it, it takes a few seconds. When you go out and you come back, whether you're coming from Costco or wherever, put things away.
Hmm.
When you come home, like you said, put your coat, hang it up. And sometimes when you feel, because I know when I go into a home and maybe upstairs and I see clothes everywhere or things hanging over things, I realize that it's time possibly for a purge because
Hmm.
the clothes and things that they use don't have a place, but the things that they don't use are you need to just let them go. Specifically in
Yeah.
a closet. When I go into a bedroom and I see the clothes on you and the exercise, the bike, or on the
Hmm.
chair, it's like, okay, what's in the closet that you need to let go of? you know,
Yeah.
or sometimes even in a pantry, people have, they buy things in bulk, but are there things in there that you really don't, need or use anymore? And I think it's important even now, that we keep our pantries organized. I mean, for one, keep it healthy. You don't have to go out and spend money on something that may just be, right in your kitchen, but also, I find a lot of times when people do buy a lot of things and then they use it once, don't use it again, things expired, and then the things that they really use sometimes don't have a space. So it is important
Hmm.
for us to have an organized environment.
Definitely. Besides the bedroom, what are some key areas in the home that influence health the most, and how can we organize them for better habits?
Well, I think the when you come into the home, and a lot of people, now because we want to be healthier, so we take our shoes off by the door, which is wonderful. Um, have something as simple maybe as a shoe rack, but of course now they've started offering shoe closets. But it's just a little something you could put by the front door so that your shoes are organized. You're not tripping over them, and especially when you've got little shoes all the way up to big shoes. So
Hmm.
that's something important. Also, I think because we have so many devices, and we've got accessories to those devices, just having something as simple as maybe even a basket and just putting all of the accessories in so you can find them the first time. Organizing your spices. That's the
Mm.
one thing people, we buy spices. You see a spice, you buy it because that's what I'm into now, Joshua. I'll just tell everybody, all your listeners, I'm into spices now. So when I see something interesting, I'll buy it. But just making sure that you stay on top of the expiration dates
Mm.
and what you have, because you may get excited and see a new spice, and then all of a sudden you're looking like, oh, I put it like 3 weeks ago. So doing things like that, that happens as well. Um, and then also just doing like I call them seasonal purges.
Yeah.
Springtime, do your purge.
Hmm.
Fall, do a purge. Beginning of the year, sometimes do a purge because even when we get near holidays, and a lot of people love to decorate and do changes of their home depending on the
Hmm.
season. Even sometimes letting go of some things that we don't use anymore. My wonderful cousin decided it was a good idea to give me a 6 foot tree. Now, when I was in the
Mm.
space for the 6 foot tree, it worked, but I'm no longer in a space for the 6 foot tree. So I had to make a decision. Do I keep it because she gave it to me, sentimental,
Yeah.
or do I let it go? I had to let it go because I don't have space to store a 6 foot tree and all the decorations that went with it. So sometimes it's just allowing ourselves to let go, allowing ourselves and being okay with things. You know, I think also in the health and the wellness is being okay that our bodies, shapes, and sizes are changing. And I think sometimes we struggle with that, but
Hmm.
it's okay. I recently got something, a dress couldn't zip up anymore, something that was too tight, too short. It was like, I'm not going to wear that stuff. Just being okay. Like, you know what? It's okay because, and I think also it's okay to let it go because if you really want something again, maybe another opportunity for you to get it will come back, but maybe it won't. But at least be okay that you're not going to wear something uncomfortable because it got to a point, Joshua, that I decided that no matter how nice an outfit is, if I go out someplace and want to enjoy myself with people, but if I can't because the outfit is just uncomfortable, I don't need to wear it.
Hmm.
So, and it's just kind of just knowing, and I always tell people, we all go through seasons. So there may be one season where you're ready to get rid of some things, and then the next you want to hold on to some things. And I'm not here to tell anybody to have to get rid of everything, but just you want
Yeah.
to make your house and home a haven where you can feel like, oh, I can sit in this chair, or I can eat at this table, or I can go get some
Hmm.
sleep on this bed. So that's really
Hmm.
what you want to do.
Definitely. Yeah. With the clothes thing, that's a big source of clutter for a lot of people. Some people might have like 10 pairs of jeans and you can only fit into like three or four maybe. And we're waiting like, oh, maybe one day I'll fit back into that pair of jeans. And it's like, no, you just got to get rid of it. You can buy new jeans when you need to, but you don't need that, all those extra pairs cluttering up your space, like
Hmm.
that dress you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. And I always tell people also with organizing, just to purge first. Because what happens is people go into spaces, whether it's a closet or garage, they see everything and they're like, okay, I need 15 of those, I need 100 of those, but purge first. get rid of things. And it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. I tell people, Joshua, first, let's get rid of the trash and let's get
Hmm.
everything that has needs to be recycled. You
Yeah.
know, you put together that desk about 3 years ago, and you still have the box, and you're not going to return it. So it's okay to put it out and recycle it. And
Yeah.
so that could be the first and the second phase of it. Then the next
Hmm.
phase is really to get rid of things you know you need to really let go of. Like you said, the clothes that don't fit. Maybe, you got a tricycle in the garage, but your youngest child actually is on their third car that they bought themselves. So
Hmm.
is it time to kind of let go of those things? Um, I know sometimes it's hard to let go of things that may be sentimental. And I tell
Yeah.
people, maybe think about, is there a way you can repurpose things? Before
Hmm.
my mother had me, she used to travel a lot. So she has a traveling trunk, one of the big ones with the tray. I did
Oh,
not want to get rid
cool.
of it. I didn't want to get rid of it. So what I did
Yeah.
was I used that as a coffee table slash storage.
Nice.
So sometimes you can repurpose things. I
Hmm.
encourage people to do that. So once you get rid of like the trash to recycles and then the things that you just know you need to just get rid of, donate, or, I love my community because you could just put it outside and before you know it, somebody's come and taking it. And then
Hmm.
you organize what's left and just figure out a place for everything and everything in its place. And I think sometimes people get caught up because they see what's either on social media or maybe on TV and thinking, oh, it's got to look this way and that way. But really, it's about what your needs are.
Hmm.
Do you need labels? Of course, everybody needs labels, but do you need them, created with a label maker? No, not necessarily. Um, I do believe in labeling things. Maybe instead of, a lot of people use clear containers. Some people use different colors, but just create a system that meets your needs as well as your family. So again, you can find stuff the first time you look. And one
Hmm.
controversy is that, you don't need two of everything, which that is true. But I tell people, I understand if depending on the square footage of your house, you're going to have scissors upstairs and downstairs. Because in the
Hmm.
middle of the night, if you want to cut something, you don't want to have to go downstairs or go all the way to the garage. So I understand that. But do you need five of the exact same scissors?
Right.
I understand tools are different, even scissors, depending on what type of crafting you're doing, but the same
Yeah.
exact, begin to look at things like that. So,
Hmm.
a lot of times it's just doing a little bit at a time, a room at a time. I tell people don't go back and forth. Just do one room, stick to it. When that's finished, then you go to the next. So those are just like a little things that they can just kind of do really just because it's spring. So when everybody's,
Yeah.
wants to, oh, I want to get rid of stuff. I want to make
Hmm.
room and I want to clean. So
Definitely. How do you advise people for those sentimental items that maybe they can't repurpose and they're just not using and it's time to get rid of, but they're having a hard time letting go?
well, sometimes they could find somebody who would appreciate it. My mother in addition to traveling, she loved clothes. She had tons of jewelry. She had lots of clip earrings. Well, my
Yeah.
ears are pierced. Clip
Hmm.
earrings would hurt, but I found someone who actually loved clip earrings. And I realized, I said, you know what? I'm going to give those to her. Then I have
Hmm.
another friend who knew my mother, so I gave some to her too. So it was like I felt really good because I was giving them to someone who I knew appreciated them. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of times what you can do to those sentimental items. You can give them to somebody who would love it and appreciate it just as much as you would, but you don't necessarily have to keep it. And then also sometimes with sentimental, it's not about, you don't necessarily have to keep everything because we're talking like China. You've got
Hmm.
sets. People have sets and sets of China. I know somebody
Yeah.
whose mother had like 5 sets of dishes.
Oh, wow.
And my mother had, she was the entertainer too, Joshua.
Hmm.
She, I like kind of thinking about her life before she had me, but, and I can even see the joy in some of the pictures of too. But she, had these beautiful glass trays that were sandwich trays with a cup that came with it. Beautiful, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now I thought about that. I'm like, well, I know what I do when I entertain. I'm not going to give my friends a glass tray. They're just not getting that. But what I did was it was a set of four. I gave three away. I kept just one. And now I put like my perfume bottles on it. So I was able to kind of hold on to it, but not hold on to everything. So sometimes you
Yeah.
don't have to hold on to the entire set, but you can just hold on to little things and just use them around your home.
Find a little balance.
A little balance, yeah. And then there's so many
Awesome.
creative people that sometimes, even with some of the things that maybe you want to keep, maybe you have a creative friend or know somebody who's creative who can create something for you out
Hmm.
of whatever. People are creative with t-shirts and quilts and all kinds
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah, I've seen those quilts where people take old t-shirts and they make
Mm-hmm.
them into the squares of the quilt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different things that people can do if you really are not ready to let go. And also if you're not ready to let go and you have this space to just store it, it's okay.
Hmm.
I mean, I've got my mother's yellow gloves that come up to your elbows. I'm not getting those things away, but I have them tucked away in one of my drawers. I'm like, nope, I'm not getting
Hmm.
rid of those.
Yeah, the dishwashing gloves.
No, gloves. The
Oh, like
fancy
going out
gloves.
gloves.
The
Oh,
going out gloves. Yeah, she had the jewelry. She had all that stuff. And I still
oh,
have some of
nice.
her jewelry.
Very cool. Yeah, my wife is very sentimental. She likes to keep like every card, every like holiday card that she gets. And we were going through stuff a few years back, and for me, I like to look back on that stuff too, but what I do is I'll take a picture of
hmm
the card and then, respectfully place it in the trash. But I can always go back and look at the pictures. And
And that's
I
true.
I told her about that, and she was able to clear out at least half of her. She's got like a box, a file
Oh,
box that she
wow.
keeps, and she was able to clear out a bunch of it by taking pictures of it and knowing that she can always go back and look at those. I think that's a really
And
good tip.
that's true.
Very cool.
Oh, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. And it's like knowing what you're willing to let go of and also how much of it. I mean,
Hmm.
I had gotten to the point where, I had been working at least in corporate for probably 16 years before I really started the business. So, in those environments, you get the cards from people, the holiday cards, the birthday cards, the this, that, the other. And it was like, some of these people I haven't seen again. So it was like, okay, you know what? It's time for me to let go of this. And I even
Yeah.
had to put a limit on the holiday cards. So now what I do is, so for Christmas 2024, I have all of those cards. But
Hmm.
everything before that, I had to let go because it was like, after you get a certain age, it's like, okay, these things are piling up a bit. So it's
Hmm.
time for me to let go of them.
They could definitely add up after a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Like the birthday cards. Now, of course,
Hmm.
every card my godchildren have given me, of course, they're in their 20s. I have those cards,
Yeah.
especially when they were little and they were just trying to figure out how to sign things. I have those cards. But yeah, so yes, it's okay to hold on to things. I think sometimes when people hear professional organizers, oh, they're gonna have me throw out everything. No, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
No.
people are worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Yeah,
you
so
ever have you ever worked with anyone that was like an extreme hoarder?
yes. Well, I've been in their space, but I don't really work with extreme hoarders. I usually
Yeah.
refer them to an organizer who is.
Specialist.
I did, I was introduced to a client. She had moved out of a three-bedroom apartment, no, a three-bedroom home
Hmm.
into a one-bedroom senior. She
Oh,
took everything with her. And when I say she took everything, when I got there, things were all the way up to the ceiling.
yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. So and in situations like that, when you're living in some of in the facilities or even sometimes in just apartment complexes, period, they will come around and they will tell you, you got to clean this up or else.
Yeah.
And that's where she was. So her sister actually hired me and a cleaning person, and the cleaning person is the one who brought me in. And yeah, it was interesting, but I said, this is something that I cannot do because she was not
Yeah.
willing to let go of anything. So
Yeah, it can be so hard. I mean, it comes from such a deep place. There's so many emotions attached. You know, my
Mm-hmm.
dad grew up not really having a lot, not really having a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a catering company. And so he's got all kinds of props and all kinds of food carts and all kinds of stuff that he's had for years and years and years. And now he's kind of slowing down and he's focusing on, just doing like a smaller menu. And he finally realized that he had to start getting rid of stuff. And I could see the struggle in him, just that process is so hard for him. And I've been able to help him go through some stuff and put some stuff like on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace to sell some items that he doesn't need anymore. But it's just really great to see that click in him finally. Like, I don't need to hang on to all this stuff and finally start getting rid of stuff. And even at home, he loves going to garage sales and
Okay.
getting deals. He always tells
Mm-hmm.
me, I scored today at this garage sale. I got this, and that. And I'm like, Dad, you don't need another screwdriver. And I don't tell him that, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's so ingrained in him. Sometimes it's really difficult.
Yeah. But at least it's good that he has you. It's good that you have the patience because that's one thing people need when they
Yeah.
are going through stuff like that. Because, I'm sure when he picks up something, he can probably remember either the time he bought it or what the event was, what
Hmm.
took place, where he used it. And sometimes you just have to just kind of be a little patient. And that's what a lot of times I tell people. Sometimes you may need somebody just to give you a gentle nudge,
Yeah.
not a harsh one, but just like a little gentle nudge to say, hey, do you really need this? So it's good that he
Right.
has you there. And that's what
Yeah.
usually organizers do. They give you sometimes a gentle nudge, but there are some clients that I will just say, look, it's time. This is time for us just to let this go. So yeah.
Yeah. You definitely have to fine tune your
Hmm.
approach for the
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm. Yes, I do. And also sometimes your approach on how you approach a project. Because I worked with one client and she just had so much stuff in her bed. There was clutter in her bedroom, but she was also running her business in her bedroom. And I'm like, okay, we got to take this stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
So she thought we were going to start with the ugly, big, huge pile first. But I started on the smaller pile first.
Hmm.
Because by the time we got over to the big pile, she had all this adrenaline going on and she was ready to just let go of a lot of stuff. She's like, I see what you did. Yeah. I said, because if we had started with this, it would have been too much for you. It would have been too
Mm.
overwhelming. But we start here, we start slow, we build up a momentum. So by the time we get over here, you're ready to actually get rid of a lot more stuff. So,
That's a fantastic method. Get those small wins under your belt and then use that
mm-hmm.
momentum to keep going forward. I love that.
Yeah, that's like organizing. That's like, being healthy. It's just like the small wins. And sometimes I tell people, maybe just do 15 minutes or something.
Hmm.
Clean out a junk drawer. I know you've got maybe 4 or 5 junk drawers, but just do one,
Yeah.
just do one, or just set aside maybe 15 minutes and do some shredding or,
Mm.
deleting some emails. Just do a little bit at a time, or even with the kitchen. You don't have to do the entire kitchen. Maybe just do the spices and maybe do the
Yeah.
baked goods. Do it shelf at a time,
Hmm.
because I know you want to get in there and then you want to wipe it clean. And of course, you want to just take and make sure that the expiration dates are good and just kind of do just one thing at a time. And also, sometimes when you find that somebody wants to really help you with the project, give them something to do. I was surprised. I work with a client whose son has autism, and
Hmm.
he was so willing to just help me out. And basically, all he wanted to do was just look at the expiration dates on the different things in the kitchen. And I was like, fine. But he
Go
was so
for it.
eager. Yeah, he was so eager. He was so excited. And it was, and the mother said, she said, I have to be careful. She said, because when I tell him you're coming, he said he always asks, so what time is she coming? Is she close by? Is she here?
He
And I was
loves
like,
it.
well, he loves it. We did his space, and again, it's about respect. It's about knowing what they're willing to let go of, what not to. And he's surprised that he was willing to let go of a lot of things. And he just wanted things a little bit more clearer and neater for him. So
Yeah.
it helps everybody. Like you just started the conversation. It's like, what does clutter do to the environment? Sometimes it
Mm,
just overwhelms you and can confuse you. And
yeah.
when you have, clutter-free, it helps you be clear and less
Hmm.
stressful.
Yeah. I think especially for those neurodivergent people, their brain just works a
Hmm.
little differently, and having that
Hmm.
space clear and
Hmm.
clutter-free just goes such a
Hmm.
long way. So going back to the kitchen, what are some
Hmm.
simple ways to organize a kitchen for better nutrition and less food waste?
Hmm. Well, of course, making sure definitely everything is. So I would really think everything is really more organized. First of all, you should really start with your meal plan. Like, what is your meal plan going to be moving forward? Because everybody's got different types. We have the people who are vegan. We have people who, maybe only eat chicken and fish, and then of course those people who may have an occasional, pork beef. So first of all, just figure out what that's going to look like. Because once you
Mm,
figure that out, then you can kind of really figure out how your kitchen needs to be organized. Because I know for me, I don't necessarily need my frying pan close by because I don't fry food. Now, I eat fried food, but I don't fry it. And, I just don't do that. I mean, that's how I was raised. But now it's like, that's not healthy for me. So I will eat it out, but I won't do it. So I know how I'm going to do meal prep. There's certain pots, like my big pots when I put my vegetables in, or either my
hmm.
crock pot. So those are really accessible to me. So, and then also there's certain spices that I use because of the way I eat. So those are closer to me. So knowing that, I mean, I'll have other spices as well, but the ones that I use more frequently, and that really kind of helps you. So once you really figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to eat, you know, then I'll know what I need. Like I like my tea in the morning. So my herbal tea, so that cup's got to be close by. Because it's just me, so I don't have a lot of dishes.
Hmm.
But if I do need to entertain, I can just pull them out. So I just kind of have everything convenient to the way I need to operate in my kitchen area. There was one time, Joshua, I had this, I mean, this cutting board was huge. It was for a turkey.
Mm,
And so I decided, you know what? I don't need it because I don't need to chop anything that big.
yeah.
I like a smaller one. So what I did was I just put it out there. I'm like, look, I don't want to give it donate it to a place because I had already taken it out the package. It was already in my kitchen. I told friends, I said, look, I have not used it. And then somebody's like, look, I can take it. So I was able to get rid of that. And that actually opened up so much counter space for me because I was on the counter and it was taking up too much space. But I really think thinking of how you eat, but also that'll help you organize your refrigerator. That'll help you organize your cabinet, your pantry, your pans, everything. I mean, I know what tools I like convenient to me. So they're in the top shelf. So it's just kind of what knives I use. There's certain knives. I mean, I still have some of my mother's knives because they're sharp.
Hmm.
But there are other knives that I use, when I'm cutting my lemons or when I'm cutting my potatoes, things like that. So it's really kind of looking at what really makes functions for me.
Hmm. Definitely. And I think we talked about on our pre-pod call, we talked about the first in, first out method
Hmm.
of organizing
Oh,
your pantry.
oh yeah. Because it's almost like making sure your pantry almost looks like a mini supermarket, really,
Hmm.
because you'll know what you have. Of course, the earliest thing is in the front, which is the
Yeah,
first in, first out. But
the
also, I
oldest
think,
items.
yeah, the oldest items in the back. But also, I think sometimes we don't really kind of take care of our freezers either. Because that was something. Because
Yeah.
somebody was like, "Oh, you did what?" I said, "Yes, I spent the weekend making sure that my freezer was open because I have a lot of frozen vegetables in there.
Hmm.
You know, I eat a lot of plant-based foods like my black bean burgers and things like that. So I just wanted to be able to like, okay, these are the ones that are quick. These are my vegetables over here. I have, I like salmon, so this is my fish, things like
Hmm.
so I know where everything is and I'm not um, missing anything because, and this was, a friend and I, we laughed at this because I wanted some carrots because I like carrots, and the little
Yeah.
baby carrots.
Hmm.
And I went to my refrigerator, but they weren't there. I was like, I know I bought them. Where are they? So, you know what? I didn't stress it. I went and bought some more, a little mother bag. Went in the freezer, and where were they? Just sitting there, just saying, "Hey, Janet, we've been here the whole time. Where the baby carrots?" So from that moment on, it's like, okay, I need to be a little bit more conscious of, because I'm, like everybody else, I do have my freezer organized, but sometimes like you're unpacking and you got to go to the next thing. You're just trying to, so yeah. So that's why I said, the entire refrigerator should
Hmm.
be organized.
Have
And
the labels out.
get the labels out and just making sure that, when you open it, you can see things, you know what you have. And one of the things I realized is I just had to kind of put a pause on mayonnaise for myself
Yeah.
because I mean, I like it, I use it, but I realized I'm not using it like I would get the big container and it was like, this
Hmm.
is going bad. So I told a friend, I said, the next time I'm in the mood for some potato salad, I will buy some. But until then, I'm not going to buy any anymore because it gets expired. So, and sometimes it's just making that, realizing that my eating habits have changed. Maybe I need to look at portion sizes when I go shopping.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm also learning about myself is that I really don't have a lot of trash anymore. I'm still trying to figure out, I don't. I don't have a lot of trash. My recycles are, I don't have a lot, but I don't have a lot of trash anymore. And I'm like, what am I doing? Hmm.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm happy about that because I know that makes one of my godchildren. She's an environment. She loves the environment, wants to protect it. So
Yeah,
making her happy. But
definitely. Yeah, I've got a list for my freezer.
that's good.
Yeah, because instead of going in there and digging around and getting my hands all cold, I can look at the
Yeah.
list and see, okay, what do I have? And our diets, I think, are a little different. I eat a lot of meat, so I keep a
Okay.
lot of meat in the freezer, and I'll
Yeah.
be able to go down the list. And when I'm planning my meals for the week, I can go down the list, see what I have. I can go in the fridge, see what I have, and kind of come up with some meals that I can use some of that stuff. And I might have to go to the store and buy some other things to fill in the gaps, but using what you have can save you money and keep your pantry and refrigerator from being unorganized.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it can save you so much money because I've seen so many pictures of people who go in that spice area and then they've got so many spices that they just have to get rid of because they have not been keeping on top of it. So,
Definitely.
mhm.
And I live in a motorhome, so
Okay.
space is tight. Especially
Hmm.
counter space. It's
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
valuable real estate, and
That's right. I know.
I like to really focus on multi-use items, gadgets, or items that have multiple features and functions, like the Instapot.
Hmm.
One Instapot you can use to saute, you can pressure cook, you can slow cook. I mean, you can do so much.
And you can. And also, I think, and you brought a good point, is sometimes we have to get to the point where do we need all those appliances?
Yeah.
I mean, we have all the gadgets and everything and this and that. Do we need all of that? And are we going to
Hmm.
use it? I was helping a client after they had gotten their kitchen remodeled, and she had all these huge appliances, and it took the two of us just to get it on her counter. And I said, "Do you need this? And if you need this, do you have the strength to use it anymore?" And she thought about that, and she's like, "You know what? I don't." Because it was just her and her husband. They were empty
Yeah.
nesters. Sometimes like diet changes, empty nesters, space changes. I mean, I'm like you,
Hmm.
counter space is valuable. So I don't
Yes.
have the space nor the storage for all of those wonderful appliances that are available. And also sometimes it's the convenience of it because I actually gave away, I had a blender
Hmm.
one time and it just took forever to clean it. And it was like, you
Yeah.
know what? I need to get rid of you. I
Yeah.
need to, I'm gonna clean you up as best as I can, see if somebody I know wants it, somebody really truly wanted it, and just gave it away.
Hmm. Yeah. As things change, I think we need to adapt. I used to do juicing, so I had a juicer,
Oh
And
yeah.
those things are really bulky and they're a pain in the ass to clean.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
after like a year, we hadn't used it, and I was like, talk to my wife, like let's get rid of this. And she's like, yeah, we're not using it. Let's get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like a rule that I like to use. If I haven't used something in a year, I really think hard about getting rid of it. And that
Mm-hmm.
actually sometimes has the opposite effect. It'll make me use something that I have, like, like camping gear. Like, oh, we haven't gone camping in a year. Maybe we should get rid of this. Maybe we should plan a camping trip. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
should use some of this stuff that we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it can kind of
And
go
that
both
is true.
ways.
Mm-hmm. And then also when you're getting rid of things, sometimes other people, going through life changes, like maybe a young person who is moving into their first apartment.
Hmm.
That can inspire you to go through your house and get rid of things that maybe be brand new that they would truly appreciate because moving to your first apartment, you got to get everything. So that's one less thing
Yeah.
that they have to put on their shopping list, but it'll help
Hmm.
you clear up your color because I did that. I knew somebody young, they were moving into their first apartment. I had like two sets of measuring cups. I only
Yeah.
need one.
Right.
So one was new, and I went through my kitchen and my house, took picture of everything, and I said, "Do you want? Let me know what you want." And they said, "We want all of it." I said, "Thank you."
It's such a
And
blessing for you and for them.
yeah, because it was like a board with if you want to have like friends over and cut cheese. I
A
had had it.
charcuterie board.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not really using this thing. They're probably going to entertain a lot more than I do. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I was so happy to get rid of all of that stuff.
Hmm.
So when his mother pulled up at my house, I said, I got something for you. Give this to your child next time you see
Definitely. And
him.
if you
Hmm.
can't find someone that there's plenty of other ways to get rid of stuff so people can use it. I think there's those free free stuff groups on Facebook
Yeah. Hmm.
where people
Hmm.
post stuff, or
Hmm.
like I said, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace.
Or just put a sign on it free and put it outside, depending
Oh
on.
yeah. It
Hmm.
won't take long if you live in a decently trafficked area.
Yeah. And then sometimes I'm hearing like the people who live in apartment complexes, they have like rooms. It might be the laundry room or another room where people just put things and then somebody else will actually take it. Because I helped a
Hmm.
client, we went in her storage unit and we were able to empty out like so many of those huge, big Tupperware Rubbermaid bins, and she just put it on the apartment group chat or whatever. And she said, "Yeah, and I got all people want to take it already." I said, "Good." I said, "Because I know these things." She's like, "I don't need them anymore." I said, "Good. Let's just give them a new place and a new home." That's what you're
Hmm.
doing, you know. And then there also sometimes is like groups and organizations where yes, they take your stuff, yes, they sell it, but it's for a good cause. Sometimes just looking
Yeah.
for those places where yes, they're going to sell it, but it's to get money so they can continue to do the work that they do in the community. So think about
Hmm.
those places as well.
Yeah. One place that I always knew about, the Salvation Army, you just give them a call and they can come pick up your stuff. And what I didn't realize was the whole other side of their organization was helping people with recovery from drug abuse and alcohol. I had Chris Boss on a few weeks ago, and he was a recovered alcoholic, and the Salvation Army helped him, and he is actually on the board now in one of
Oh,
the Florida chapters. So it's really
mm.
amazing what some of these organizations do. And just by donating your stuff that you don't need, you can really help some people out.
And that is true. And there's also like a lot of places that will help women who are, they may have to leave a situation and they just got to go with the clothes on their back. And of
Yeah.
course, they're starting new. And, a lot of times the stuff we have in our homes and in our lives, they can use to kind of start a new life.
Yeah.
I let people know that there's places where you can donate your old eyeglasses. You know, um, not pharmacists, eye doctors. They take them and then they kind of take them and they send them to places so people can at least have some eyewear. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do with our stuff, and
Hmm.
that can really help somebody else out.
Yeah. help ourselves and help others at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Exactly. Yep.
So what are some small actionable steps people can take today to start creating a healthier home environment?
So I would definitely, like you mentioned, put things away. Don't put it down. Put it away.
Hmm.
Um, and also just do a little bit at a time. Maybe do a junk drawer. Maybe do the top of a countertop or either, maybe underneath also, a kitchen sink, a bathroom sink. Just do small things so you can like
Hmm.
have those small wins. And, also, schedule it at least, if you only have 15 minutes, to do something for 15 minutes. But if you can schedule an hour a week, that's like 52 hours within a year. So schedule it.
Hmm.
But also, something you can do just if you are feeling so overwhelmed at everything in your home and your life is just do an assessment. Is what
Mm.
organizers do. They come in and they look at all the areas and just list them. They don't have to do anything, just list them. Okay, I'm tired of the shoes by the door. The kids can never find the accessories to their electronics. I'm tired of all the stuff on the kitchen counter and I can never find anything underneath the bathroom sink. So just list those things. Once you
Hmm.
do that, figure out what is my pain point. You know, maybe it is I'm tired of tripping on shoes every time I come in the door, or the dog just seems like he's got like at least 10 or 12 toys he can play with throughout the day while we're at work.
Oh
So,
yeah.
that might be an area, and then just focus on that. Focus on maybe getting a shoe rack and letting everybody know when you come in, put the shoes here, when you go out, you know, the shoes will already be here. You don't have to do that. But, just
Hmm.
little things. Just figure out one area. Don't go back and forth. And also purge before you purchase. Don't go out thinking you
Yes.
got to get all this stuff and spend all this money. No. When you purge, you may already have all the containers and everything that you need. So, but those are just small, this is just like small things, just like putting things back, doing one thing, doing just a junk drawer, or
Hmm.
maybe spending 15 minutes shredding, doing something like that.
Yeah. Those are some great ideas. Help people get
Hmm.
started.
Yeah.
What
Or just, well, one
oh,
last thing, or just kind of going in the pantry and just like, let me look at all the expiration dates on things.
hmm.
And if you happen to come across a can or something that you like, you know what, why did I buy this? Nobody's eating it and it's still good. Give it to a food pantry.
Yeah, that can really help someone in need.
Hmm.
So what are some mindset shifts that are necessary to maintain an organized and wellness focused space long term?
I think that one, sometimes we have to, because sometimes our calendars get as full as our closets.
Mm,
So I think sometimes knowing that it's okay to say no, it's okay to just spend some time just being quiet, but also, what's important to you? Is it important for you to, have everything, clearly labeled with a labeling machine and in these cute little containers, or is it important for you just to be able to find something the first time you look? Because I think sometimes neatness and organization are really two different things. Like being neat, sometimes people can't really find anything, but everything looks good. So just
mm,
knowing it's about function. So
yeah.
just knowing that, knowing it's about function, knowing that, sometimes that mindset of, well, I have to be born organized, or you don't have to be born organized. Um, and then also just knowing that, it's just about doing little things. It's not about I have to do the entire house. It's about, hey, I did my I did my junk drawer. I got one junk drawer clean and being happy with that and being okay with that, you know. And also I think sometimes the mindset is that yes, there are people sometimes in your life that may be looking at everything in your house, but then there are people in your life, and those are the people you really should let in your life and in your house that are just there for you. And I always tell the story of my best friend. I'll never forget. We were getting ready for my goddaughter's college graduation. So she's, in her bedroom ironing. So I just wanted to go in there and just kind of chat with her before we all had to get dressed and go. And she's like, "What are you doing in here?" And, and I'm like, "I'm not in here to see what's going on. First of all, you live here. You and your husband live here. I'm here to have a quick chat with you before the festivities begin, because I know once we get in the car and we got to go and we won't talk to each other again until probably we eat." So,
Mm,
so sometimes it's just like letting go of the perfection.
yeah.
I think that's the biggest mindset. It's just like letting go of the perfectionism. Because I tell people, yeah, when I come back, maybe from a trip, I open up my luggage and I slowly put things away, put things laundry, do this. But yeah, you may see the luggage in the middle of on the floor, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of
So,
a
and
freak.
also I think the mindset,
I'm kind of a freak like that. When traveling, I come home and I immediately put my suitcase on the bed and start putting things away. And I'll have my suitcase put away and done. And my wife is, just relaxing from traveling, and
yeah,
it just feels so
yeah,
good to have all that stuff put away already and not have to worry about it.
and it does. And also, one thing I want to say, Joshua, is allowing ourselves more time than we think we need to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we think, oh, it's only going to take me 15 minutes, or oh, it's going to be a quick trip to the
Mm,
store. And actually, it's like double that time. Okay, so you think something's going to only take 15 minutes, but you schedule 30, and it took you 25. You're okay because you scheduled 25. I mean, you scheduled 30. But if you only schedule 15 and it takes you 25, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be overwhelmed. So
yeah.
allow yourself. So if you think something is going to take a certain amount of time, double it. And also, we need to stop the multitasking
Mm,
because we try to do so many things, you know. Now, the only place, specifically in the work environment, multitasking just does not work because it almost doubles the time it takes us to do things.
yeah.
Multitasking at home has its place. I mean, of course, you want to do the laundry, I'm gonna throw the laundry, throw the laundry in, and maybe I'm going to clean the bathroom floor. But really think about when you are multitasking because it's like you're putting your brain and your focus on two different things instead of on one thing and getting that one thing done and crossed off your list.
Yeah, definitely. And I think focusing on experiences versus
Mm-hmm.
material goods can
Mm-hmm.
really go a long way in overall health, and especially with
Mm-hmm.
clutter. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
so focused on the new pair of shoes or, the newest iPhone or this and that. And really you should be focusing on life experiences, time with friends and family,
Mm-hmm.
traveling.
Mm-hmm. And
I
you're
think,
right, because I remember it's been a few Thanksgivings ago. And my godson got up and said, I really appreciate all the things that we've been given, but we love the experiences.
mm,
And I don't think he was still a teenager then. So I think sometimes we can take a cue from the kids.
definitely. And you had mentioned, talking to your spouse about stuff. I think getting that buy-in from, other people in your home is really critical to helping, get rid of clutter.
And also
Just
just
talking
kind of,
about it.
yeah, having a conversation and just really the two of you talking, or even as a family, just like, okay, what's important to us? What are some of the things that are really important to us?
Hmm.
It's frustrating for me. I can't, I come home and I trip over your shoes. But then what's frustrating to you? And let's
Yeah.
figure out how we can work together. Because one woman came to me, she told me, she said, Janet, she says, my husband just needs to get organized. She says, because I can't take it anymore. And I said, well,
Mm,
what is he doing? She says, well, he's coming home and he's throwing his hat here and his keys there. And I says, well,
yeah.
does he have a place for them? And she thought, no. I says, well, maybe if you got him a hook for keys and hook for a cap, he will have a place because that's what he
Hmm.
wants to do. He wants to take it off when he comes home,
Yeah.
and that's what he needs. And she said, huh, sometimes it's that. Sometimes even with our children. It's maybe just having, you saying, well, they could always losing the school ID. Well, maybe just get a hook in their bedroom so when they come home, put the keys on the hook, they can get into their, whatever they want to change into. And sometimes it's just doing simple things like that, but looking at what, those areas are. Because that's what, when organizers come in, they look, and that's why a lot of times people try to organize Joshua before we come. It's like, I want to see what it looks like. I want to see the pile of shoes by the door, or I want to see the mail, just piled up here. Because in that
Mm,
note, I know there needs to be system.
yeah.
Or if I look at your closet and realize, you can't really hang anything, it's because you've changed. You no longer wear suits or you no longer wear dresses. You're into separates. So that means we have to figure out a system for that. And that's will make it more functional. So, you know, it's just like those little things. Wow.
Definitely. And I did want to talk a little bit about time, about organizing your time, but we are running out of time. So maybe we can talk about that another day. But I think organizing your time and your life is really important. And
It is.
you do virtual home and office organizing, but you
Yes, I
also
do.
do life organization,
Yes,
like
I
real
do.
estate
Yes, I do.
planning, caregiving, goal setting.
Yeah, and I have people to kind of help me with that. Like recently, actually before this, a client called and she's like, okay, Janet, she's like, I realized I need to have a conversation with my mom because I don't want to, because a friend of theirs is actually taking care of their mother and it's like nothing is in order. And so I said, look, this is the stuff you need, as a former caregiver and my mother passed away. I said, these are the things you need, to have in order. So yeah, and just kind of helping people along that line so that people are not, it's just simple estate planning, but people are just not left out in the dark, but also people are a little bit more prepared, and that's really what I love to do. So, but yeah, I do like virtual organizing. I can see spaces and like, okay, let's do this. Let's move that over there. So I
Hmm.
love doing that. But yeah, we can have a good conversation about time. But I will say this in regards to time. I think it's important for us to plan our time. And I think sometimes we just kind of go haphazardly. And I always tell people sit down once a week with yourself, or if you're a spouse or family, and just really look at your time. Look at your work schedule, what it looks
Hmm.
like. If the kids got school schedules, rehearsals, things like that, and really know where everybody's time is going to be allocated so that you know if you do have time to do other things. Because sometimes we put that other stuff on, and because we're just living life, we really don't have the energy or the time to do other things. But also making sure you put in time. Okay, I usually do the laundry on a Thursday night, but because I want to do something on Thursday night, I'll do it on a Tuesday night. And being able to, that's how you live that organized life, is being able to do everything you need to do, not feeling like anything's slipping through the cracks, but also having fun, as well.
Definitely. So if people are interested in working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can just go to my website at janetmtaylor.com, or they can follow me on Instagram at Janet the Organizer.
Awesome. Very cool. And so if you have a few moments, I'd like to wrap up our conversation here with a game.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right. All right,
Awesome.
Joshua. Okay. All right. I'm gonna take
So
a sip of water first just to prepare myself. Okay.
definitely go right ahead. This segment's called The Final Dose.
Okay.
And how it works is we'll spin a wheel that selects a word or phrase at random, and then you share a story or the first thought that comes to mind. Sound good?
Okay. All right. That
All
sounds good.
right. I'm gonna share my screen so everyone can see the wheel. Can you see it?
I see you. Yeah, I see it says you started sharing your screen, so I haven't seen the wheel. I see it now.
All right. There it is. I'll hit
Okay.
the button and we'll get
Okay.
our word or phrase and you can answer it and we'll end on that. Misled advice.
Okay. Misled advice. Misled advice. Um, mm,
Is there a
I'm trying to
time in
think
your
of
life where you were misled or a story that comes to mind?
um misled. Hmm. I guess maybe years ago when I was the owner of a property, I was getting so much advice. And I
Hmm.
think now when I come back, because now when I think back and I know somebody who's really truly an expert in real estate, I think if I had had that person in my life, I probably would have made some different decisions. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that it comes to mind. And then also, I think misled advice as it relates to health. I'll never forget, I had been going through some procedures and I was when I went to a health fair, they realized I had was my blood pressure was so high that I was almost near stroke.
Oh,
So
scary.
yeah, so when they took me to emergency and the nurse was looking at me and she's like, well, because both of your parents had high blood pressure and hypertension, you're just going to have to take medication for the rest of your life.
Mm.
I said, okay. So, I mean, I at that time, because I did take the medication, but I discovered, and it could have been just the organized part of me too, Joshua, is every day I would take my pressure and I put it on a spreadsheet. And but then it started going down so low that I actually and I truly appreciate and love this doctor. I called her and I told her, I said, these are my readings. She said, huh? She said, well, let me know what they are tomorrow. So I did. And she said, okay, you know what? We're going to have to reduce it. She said, this is what we're going to do. So eventually, she gradually got me off of it. And I've never been on it again, ever.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I did change my diet, and like I said, I like walking. I'm really conscious of what
Hmm.
I eat and things like that, and I do, make sure I do everything so I don't go back. So yeah, that was another incident where it was like when she said that, I was like, wait a minute, what? She was like, yeah, you're gonna be on medication for the rest of your life. No,
Mm, I don't think so.
yeah, so yeah, so that was one thing. I was like, nope.
That's great. That's really incredible. So many people, get told that they have to be on medications for life when they could just change their lifestyle a little bit and
Hmm.
and be so much healthier.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
changed my
Yeah.
lifestyle. Yeah, yeah, changed my lifestyle, eat better, and I mean, and I still occasionally just check my pressure every now and then, just to make sure. Because that is, because at that time when it was up that high, I was feeling good. So I was feeling real good. So yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing your time with us and helping us cut through the bullshit today.
you're welcome, and thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed our conversation.
You bet. It was my pleasure.